Welcome to the Microsoft IT Pro Podcast, a show about Office 365, Azure, and the IT Pro and end user side of life. Each week, we'll discuss a different topic or recent news related to Office 365 and Azure and how it relates to you as an IT Pro. The MS IT Pro Podcast is never longer than 30 minutes, so let's get started.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Scott. How are you?
I am well rested.
Good to hear. It's always a good start to the day to be well rested.
Yeah, spending a week on a boat helped, but all good.
Yeah, definitely. And while you were away on a boat, right after you got back, I heard you won a new laptop.
Something like that. Yeah, those guys over on that other developer podcast, they're pretty cool sometimes.
Yeah, they are. The Microsoft Cloud Show? Something like that.
Yeah, one of those.
Those cool guys that can use AC and CJ for their names. Well, we have to stick to our normal names.
Yes.
I've tried my initials. It doesn't work so well.
No.
Yeah, this is BS. No.
Yeah, you're getting there pretty close. I always wanted to form a business and call it Scott Hoag's IT Shop, but then it would be the, crap shop.
Yeah, I like that one. Oh my. All right. So we're doing audio, but what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk a little bit about video today, right? We've got a new service that just GA'd earlier this week, and it is Microsoft Stream.
All right. Sounds good. I'm excited to talk about it. I've played with it for a while, had it in preview for a while. So what is it? I know we've also had Office 365 video. This is probably people's biggest question is Office 365 video, Stream. What is Stream? How does it differ? Give us an overview.
So Stream is effectively the successor to Office 365 Video. It is not an all-up replacement today because you're going to find if you turn Stream on, you're actually going to be running both of them side by side for a little bit. But it is effectively videos hosted in a Microsoft service, all run through some other Azure services on the back end. So things like Azure Media Services for doing any kind of transcoding, transformations, live streams, things like that. And then also integrated into some other Azure services. So cognitive services, there's automated transcriptions, a bunch of other things that happen. But effectively, it is a single one-stop shop for an organization to post videos to. So whether that's things like your corporate communications department wants to push out that corporate architecture kind of stuff, or even down to an individual team level, maybe you host a weekly Skype meeting and record it, and you want everybody to have access to that audio and video to go ahead and push those things up. You can actually push things like that up to Stream as well.
Very cool. It works great. So kind of like a whole corporate YouTube type scenario.
Very much emphasis on the corporate side of it. So there are some things that have always been kind of locked down in SharePoint land. External access tends to be a big one, especially as all these new services come out. So you can effectively think of it as internal only video today with external stuff on the roadmap. So it's really tough when you walk into those conversations and you say, well, Stream is like YouTube or Yammer's like Facebook. They're really not. They're different things and they serve different purposes. They're really meant to be integrated into that whole ecosystem of stuff that's going on over in SharePoint and Office 365, whether it's websites or being integrated into search experiences, things like that.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm excited to keep playing with it. I know, like I said, I've used Office 365 video. Some of my clients, we've put, like you said, some WebEx training videos up there, some meeting recordings up there, and Office 365 video was good. We liked it. There were a few things I didn't like about it that they seem to have fixed a little bit with Stream. I know one of them was, I think we mentioned it in a previous episode when we were talking about SharePoint administration, that when you use Office 365 video, you spin up a channel, upload a video to it, it actually stores that original video in a hidden site collection that counts against your storage quota in SharePoint.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things with Stream is it's no longer tied to SharePoint. It's all Azure. So you have separate storage. You're not going to take away from your SharePoint storage quota by uploading those videos to stream.
Yeah, that's correct. So it is a new storage model. So what's going to happen is, being that you still have your Office 365 video today, if you've invested in that stuff, it's not going anywhere right now. Microsoft's working on kind of a transition plan. But if you're just going all in on the stream, starting out new, you're going to get 500 gigs for your tenant, so 500 gigs of base data, and then you'll get half a gig per subscribed user. So it wasn't clear whether that was licensed users in your tenant or whether that was actually users that you had assigned the entitlement to. I haven't seen any place in Stream yet where I can go in on the admin side and say, hey, what's my actual storage allocation? What am I hitting against my allocation? Where am I at? So they're missing some of those kind of admin operational controls, or maybe I'm just being dense and can't find them in there.
No, I looked for it too. And the other thing I looked for was, what if I want to buy more storage? What if I'm a big media company or I have a ton of videos that I want to store? Do I just have to keep buying users to get more storage, or can I kind of do the whole, I want to buy another 500 gigs for X number of dollars a month? I didn't see any way to kind of expand that storage or even buy more of it.
So there's no option in UI or anything to go ahead and expand it today. It is out there. So the stated model is 500 gigs for your tenant, half a gig per user, and you will be able to purchase additional storage as needed. So it's not going to be a per user storage thing. It'll kind of be more along the SharePoint Online model, where if you need you need another terabyte of storage, you just go pay for your terabyte. Pricing information was not released for that, as well as how that stuff's going to be allocated. So if you're like a PayGo customer versus an EA or a Select, or you work through a CSP or things like that. So all kind of up in the air. It's a new Microsoft service. It is very much hitting the minimum viable product.
Yep, definitely. I think the other big thing that I always didn't like in Office 365 video that they fixed in Stream, or I feel like they fixed it, is in Office 365 video, a video can only be associated with one channel. So let's say I uploaded a training video and it was about Exchange Online, for instance. I could either put it in a training videos channel or I could put it in Exchange Online channel. I couldn't do both. With the stream, the channels seem to be almost more like, I don't want to call them tags, but they act more like tags, in that you can upload one video and add it to 1, 2, 5, 6, 7 channels. So it can be surfaced all in different channels. So there's a bunch of different ways to see it, to find it, to group videos together that may cover different topics, or users may think about them in a different manner.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So a lot of those controls right now are kind of based at the user, the owner level for the person who uploads that video. So one of the things that's going on with Stream is it has multitude of ways to go ahead and surface that information up, like you said. So whether it's actually through container around what's called a channel in Stream, it could be a container around a group, because of course they had to integrate this into Office 365 groups in a broken way. It could be just that hashtag that goes ahead and surfaces it up too. So I think it's going to be really weird at first, because now you have the potential, and we started to see this a little bit yesterday as users were uploading videos and doing some things, just kind of playing around with it, a couple of groups, where you can upload a video to a group and it surfaces in that group, but then based on the tagging, it might surface someplace else, but then users can't get in there because they'll see the video, it's not quite security trimmed yet, and then they click and, just get an error and weird stuff. So it's definitely early days for a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how some of this plays up. I also noticed yesterday, it looks like you can even create channels within the group. So you can have channels that are outside of a group. You can have channels that are in a group, almost like the channels within Microsoft Teams, where it's a subset of channels just in that group. It can be a little confusing, I feel like, to try to figure out, like you said, who has access, who sees it when, how it's associated to all these different channels and groups and that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be really, 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 really weird for a while because it's a different paradigm, right? So in SharePoint land and Office 365 video land, we were used to having these defined containers. So whether you knew it or not, like you said, that channel in Office 365 video equated to a site collection that equated to its own security and a bunch of other things. What's happened now is whether it's in a channel, it's a group, it's got a tag associated with it, anything else, it's effectively all just metadata in one big pool. And then it's being surfaced in the UI based on kind of how they pull it out and query it. So you can push stuff anywhere and everywhere and kind of like nowhere at the same time. So it's definitely going to take some training. There's not a lot of documentation out there on it yet right now. So it is the definition of an MVP.
Yeah. Definitely. And I found a few websites. We'll throw a bunch of links to in the show notes too about different things around some of this stuff, the mechanics video where they demo it. But like you said, I was kind of sifting through a bunch of the documentation, trying to figure out some of this new stuff as well. So what other, I guess, security features even are there in place? I know you talked about you had users uploading videos. It looks like you can limit it. You can disable people from uploading videos, and you could still have some of that admin control over stream and what people are allowed to do.
You do. So this is one of those on by default services. It's incorporated into a bunch of different licenses. So it's in a bunch of the e-SKUs. I think it was in even some of like the small business SKUs. I don't remember which ones exactly off the top of my head. But it is one of those SKU pack entitlement things. So let's say you do E3s or E5s in your organization. You know how you can assign the whole SKU pack, or you can expand that and you can say, well, don't give this user Skype, don't give this user Sway. You'll have that same operational control here. So there's no big on-off switch under services for Stream right now. But what you can do is you can go in and customize those SKU packs with PowerShell, probably the best way to do it, unless you only have one user. And you can disable that service so that the tile doesn't pop up and then they don't have an entitlement to it. I haven't played around to see if it's one of those, like they actually enforce the entitlement things, you know, where if the user, just because the user doesn't have the tile doesn't mean they can't always browse there and get over to it. So I have to play around with that a little bit and see. Microsoft did publish a bunch of guidance on this one as far as example PowerShell scripts and things like that to get everybody going. So they had a great article over on the tech community from Mark Cashman, kind of talking about a bunch of this stuff and how it integrates into SharePoint and how to manage it and all that.
Okay. Yeah, and it looks like you said, it's tied into Office 365 groups too. So even as you create these different channels, you very much have that group type security structure where you have your owners and your members. And then you can say, hey, my members are actually allowed to contribute. They can upload videos. They can edit videos. They can do various contributor type things within those various groups and channels within Stream. Or you can take away that contribute right and just say, hey, my members are only allowed to consume video. So you don't have them going out there and uploading all their DVDs that they've ripped and who knows what to your video channel and consuming some of that storage.
Yeah, it's sitting there. Again, it's one of those, it works well with Office 365 groups, or I'll call them like native first or first unified kind of things. So if you had a group where you went into Office 365 and you said, create a new Outlook group, or you went in on the back end and did a new unified group, that stuff seems to be working okay. The groups that were in Yammer and got converted into unified groups, they're all sorts of weird, because if you've ever gone into those groups, even just through like Outlook and clicked in the group and you open up the membership and it says, oh, this is a Yammer group, go view it in Yammer, but it's really a unified group. There's no great way to surface that stuff over to the video portal. And those seems to be the groups that are predominantly showing, and it's all just really, it's weird.
Yeah. So they have a big warning too on one of their sites, because if you create some of these Stream channels, you can create you go in and create a new Office 365 Stream group, and it creates that Office 365 group. So this is yet another way you get the group, and you actually get like a site provisioned and the shared mailbox provisioned and all of that Office 365 group stuff when you create this group from within Stream. And conversely, if you create a group, it looks like now you get a group within Stream too. And these are all tied together. So if you're playing with some of these stream groups and you go in and delete them, it does give you a warning. Hey, these are all tied together. If you delete the group from within Stream, it's going to delete your SharePoint site, your shared mailbox, all of that type of stuff. And on the same side, if you delete some of those Office 365 groups, you could be deleting those Stream channels. So once again, they're trying to tie all of this together, but you do have to be aware of it. And they say some of those changes could even take up to 1 to 2 hours before they're essentially replicated from Office 365 groups into Stream. So kind of bizarre, but definitely be aware of how tight that coupling is that they're trying to create between groups and Stream and how they all interact together.
Yeah, they actually have a really good admin frequently asked questions that kind of talks about they frame it as the transition from Office 365 video over to Stream, but they cover a bunch of those things as far as kind of the phased rollout, kind of how this is going from GA, what's going to happen with video. And then they also talk about a lot of these features, right? So how group support plays in with the video libraries, how you can do some of that sub-channel stuff within a group you were talking about. And most importantly, it probably tells you how it's different and kind of what goes in there. So it doesn't have everything that video has today. So like it doesn't have your video view stats if you relied on that. There's no API to interact with it today. The content inside of Stream, I think it was a little weird the way they framed it. They said, hey, we've got this deep search thing, but it's not integrated into SharePoint search yet or kind of fast search. So it's not surfaced over in Delve, in SharePoint Enterprise Search. It doesn't show up on SharePoint Home, doesn't show up on the SharePoint mobile app. Office 365 Video had a mobile app. There is no mobile app for Stream today. There's no SDN support. There's none of the Spotlight stuff. So it's missing some things, right? And it is a little bit different. So I think it's really important everybody goes through that. Another big one would be if you have data sovereignty stuff going on, Stream is only available in It's not only available. It's available in all regions, but data is only hosted in 3 regions today. So it's in the US, EMEA, and APAC. So if you're sitting in Australia and you want to use Stream, your data is going to go into an APAC data center. And they haven't talked about, it doesn't necessarily detail, how that data is going to get back over if you said, hey, I want all my stuff to stay in Australia and things like that. So organizations might have some planning to do there.
Yeah. One of the other things you mentioned in there was the whole deep search stuff and how that works. That was something I played around with. It's really cool. But to your point, like you said, Stream is available in all regions. Some of these features aren't always even going to be available either based on your language. So like the deep learning stuff, the deep search, sorry. The deep search relies on that whole cognitive services and doing some of the voice to text translation. So it can index videos so that as you search, it actually uses the closed captioning, that translation into text to leverage the search. But that feature is only available to do at least automatically if your video is in English or in Spanish. So it's really cool. I've played with it. I have some videos. Obviously, I am very much English speaking. I don't have any videos in any other languages to play with, but I uploaded some of mine. And if you turn on this automatic captioning, when you upload a video, it uploads it, and then it goes through and processes it and does all of that speech to text, creates a caption file. So then as you go back and watch the video, you can turn on and off closed captioning, and Stream does it all automatically using some of those other cognitive services in Azure on the back end. And then that also is what ties into that deep search. So as you search for different words, phrases, things you may have said within your video, it'll use that text that it created and allow you to search that video and then highlight every point in the video where that specific word or phrase was said. Again, this is only available if your video is in English or Spanish. The English ones worked fairly well. I had a few words it couldn't catch. PowerShell, it always came up as OutShell. So I have a bunch of videos. I said PowerShell a bunch of times, but if I searched for PowerShell, nothing ever came up because it didn't do that text to voice quite correctly. You can download that file, edit it, and then re-upload it to correct any of those errors. But just be aware, it's like all voice to text services, it's not going to be 100% accurate. And I know, Scott, I think you had some experience with some Spanish videos.
Yeah, we do a little bit of Spanish where I am, just based on where businesses are based and things like that. It's like you said, it's machine translation. So it's not 100% accurate. So if you require 100% accurate, like you said, you're going to have to download that video and go ahead and push it back up or kind of get it in there however you want it to be. It's up to you how you want to go about doing that. But it is a nice feature and it's there. And it was definitely something that was missing over in the video side, was being able to do the captioning and some of the other things.
Yeah. And then Faces is the other one that I looked at a little bit. I haven't played with it. Have you played with Faces at all yet?
I haven't had a chance to play with that one. So I understand correctly. So over in like Video Land or Office 365 video, when you uploaded a video, you would have the opportunity afterwards to go ahead and say people associated with this video. And that's what the face search is supposed to be doing, right? It's going to do some kind of extraction based on Azure AD and say, hey, I recognize these people based on their picture.
Yeah. And I think it even recognizes the same face. So it doesn't even necessarily have to match up with Azure AD. And then it just looks for the same face and essentially tags where that person appears in the video. So if you're looking at something like one of the keynotes from a Microsoft conference where maybe someone like Scott Gu or Jeff Teeper comes up multiple times throughout the video, it allows you to see exactly when Jeff or Scott would appear within that video and quickly jump to those points in the video.
Yeah. Well, that's another neat one too. So some of the jump stuff. So they actually, if anybody's used YouTube and you've sent somebody a link and it says, hey, do you want to send a link to the beginning of the video or to this exact point in the video? This service in Stream supports the same thing. So jump to a point in a video. So as it goes through and it processes, you'll get the timeline and you'll be able to actually push that stuff out. So if you want to make a comment like about something that happens 32 minutes in, people don't actually need to watch 32 minutes or go ahead and scrub. And they also get better playback speed control. So Azure Media Services does a couple things with voice processing and some other things during transcode. So if you do things like speed up and listen at like 1.5x, it doesn't change the pitch of voices or anything like that. It actually just takes the contents, speeds it up, keeps the pitch, does all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely leveraging the back end in some great ways, right? It's taking advantage of some of those native features.
Awesome. A couple other topics. One of them was integration. So you have this video, it's up in Stream. The nice thing is Stream is not the only way you have to get it or to surface that video to others. So like you said, you could send a link. Are there other ways too we can surface these videos, share them with our users, let users access them besides just sending them to the Stream website?
Yeah, there's going to be a couple things. So you're going to have a new modern web part. So there's going to be a Microsoft Stream web part in like your group home pages, your modern pages. And that's going to give you the ability to embed videos or entire channels directly into your SharePoint pages. You will have all the embed codes. You'll be able to do links. You have native rendering support in things like Yammer today. If you can't just do like straight embeds into Office 365 groups and things because they don't have the HTML field security set over there. So you can basically push it out kind of anywhere that you could push Office 365 video today, maybe with even some additional places since they've got that Stream web part out there.
Yeah, the other one I played with that's kind of neat is Teams. You can actually add a tab in your Microsoft Teams to a Stream channel. So if you have videos associated with a specific team, you can just go into Teams, click to add Stream, and then you get to select a channel. I don't know if they added groups since it GA'd, but then it'll surface all the videos associated with that channel right within your Teams client.
Yeah, I think that one's going to grow over time, especially with some of the native integrations in Teams for doing Skype videos and doing some of those team meetings and recordings, because now you're going to have that video library automatically associated with the group, which is part of the team, which is part of the tab, and it'll all kind of come together nicely. So I could see a great value add, right? You know, you're a sales department or really you're any kind of functional unit and you do weekly meetings and people need to go back and have access to that data. So now you're going to get the automatic text extraction. You're going to be able to say, hey, did you watch the video from last week when we talked about blah, 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 and just send somebody a link straight to that point in the video. And then for everybody else, here's all the stuff as it existed in the past, which is always great, right? Just from a knowledge management side of things.
Yep, definitely. So finally, we're getting close to time here. There's a few different ways you can get Stream. We kind of hinted at some of them before. The first thing you can do is they have a trial version of it available. So if you want to just go try it out, it looks like they have a 90-day trial. You can go test everything out, see how it all works, play with some of the faces, the captioning, uploading videos, all of those fun features. And then just like all great Office 365 plans, they have two versions. They have a Stream Plan 1 and a Stream Plan 2. So you don't have to go out and have an Office 365 E3, E5. Some of those you can actually just sign up for Stream. It looks like I haven't actually tried this yet, but it appears that if you just have users that need access to video, you can just sign them up for a Stream Plan 1 or a Stream Plan 2. I think they're like $3 and $5 respectively. And then finally, they're also bundled into like the E3 and the E5.
Yeah, so they are bundled into Education, Education Plus, K1, K2, E1, E3, and E5. And today, there's no availability in GCC, Government Community Cloud, Germany, or China. So like the 21 ViaNet stuff. Basically, it's from a pure plan, like Skew Pack side of things, it's every place that Office 365 video was available, except for the GCC, Germany, and China.
Okay. And then I did see too that not all of those plans, though, include all the same features. I think it's like E1 and E3 include the Plan 1, which doesn't include like the faces and the automatic captioning, some of those more cognitive services type functionality. It looked like that was only in E5, or you had to get the Stream Plan 2 from what I have seen.
Yeah. Early days. We'll see what they figure out.
Exactly.
I mean, it's really weird, right? Because you're seeing some of that stuff like on the subscription side, but you can't exactly go buy it yet. Like you can't go buy the additional storage. If you're an EA customer, you've got to wait a while, or like Select or things like that. You've got to wait a while for these things to appear through your VARs or through like the Volume Licensing Center and some of those other things. One last thing that I also caution everybody about, we talked about like kind of data regions and hosting and things like that. If you have any kind of compliance or regulatory things going on, Microsoft does publish a compliance framework. So it's the Office 365 compliance framework, various categories, things like that. You can go download the PDF and see what's going on. Office 365 video was a category C compliant. So, you know, it's ISO 27001 and all that good stuff. Stream is not in any category today, so it's basically non-compliant. So if you require one of those categorical compliance kind of things, stick with Office 365 video for now, wait for it to be compliant, and Microsoft will automatically transition you later.
Good to know. All right. Well, I think that about wraps us up for the day. We're at about our 30 minutes. So thanks again. Great discussion on Office 365 video Stream, and we will talk to you next week, Scott.
Great. Thanks, Ben.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye. If you enjoyed the podcast, go leave us a 5-star rating in iTunes. It helps to get the word out so more IT pros can learn about Office 365 and Azure. If you have any questions you want us to address on the show or feedback about the show, feel free to reach out via our website, Twitter, or Facebook. Thanks again for listening.